Hi everybody, sorry I can't be there with you today. I thought I would try this out. I would record a video of this lesson and you guys can follow along with me, and if you would like, you can also pause it at any time. And if you would like to pause it, you can try it on your own and then, resume the video and see how you did. So today's lesson is 64. We're going to be learning how to write the equation of the perpendicular bisector. And if this seems like review, we haven't done it before, but we have worked with the perpendicular bisector before. We just have never done the equation of it because we're in the unit of writing equations of lines. We are going to be learning how to write the equation of the perpendicular bisector given 2 points. This lesson can be done, well, this unit can be done in a lot of different ways. I think most of your favorite ways is with using algebra, but I will show you the graphing way first because it is the shortest and easiest way. And it's good to have multiple ways to find, the answer to a problem. Okay, let's get started. You might already recognize the definition for the perpendicular bisector. It's the line or line segment that divides another line segment into 2 equal parts at a 90-degree angle. So what you need to remember about the perpendicular bisector is that it is perpendicular and it is a bisector. So these are 2 words that we should be familiar with. Perpendicular, they create 90-degree angles. Bisector, it goes and forms 2 congruent segments. Another thing that you should know, I want you to write this down right underneath, right here. And I'm going to try to write with my magic pen. Let's see if this works out okay. Perpendicular, you should understand that the slopes are opposite reciprocals. And bisector, if it bisects it, it's going to go through the midpoint. So these 2 things are extremely important. We're going to be working with these 2 things. All right, let's start with a visual, just so you guys can picture it. Sketch the perpendicular bisector for each pair of points. What I'm going to have you do first is take your ruler, and why don't you go ahead and connect each pair of points to form a bisector, or to form a line segment, sorry. So go ahead and form a line segment between the 2 points. Okay, so once you see your line segment, I want you to try just your best judgment, this is just a sketch right now, to figure out where that perpendicular bisector would be drawn. So here you can pause the video if you want, and you can try it on your own. But I'm going to continue along and show you. So perpendicular bisector here, my best guess would be to start with the midpoint. So let me find the midpoint. It's about there. And then I would like to draw a line segment that is going to go through the midpoint, forming 90-degree angles, like that. So that looks to me like a good sketch of a perpendicular bisector. Maybe it's a line, and it continues along forever. All right, next one. Let me find what I think the midpoint is. And we're going to do this on the graph, and we're going to actually be very accurate coming up soon here. And then where I think the bisector might be is about there to form 90-degree angles. Okay, next one. I think the midpoint is there. And something like this. Okay, if you want to, you can draw in your right angle and the congruent segments. Right angle and congruent segments. And that's the whole point here, is to know what the perpendicular bisector looks like between 2 points, but also to write the equation. If you can recall, we actually did constructions with our compasses. So this is probably going to be the easiest way to see the perpendicular bisector and have it be accurate. So this is going to be the easiest way. So if you have your compass, let's try it that way right now. If you don't have your compass, maybe you want to pause this video and you guys can sign them out that way, okay? So once you have your compasses ready, you can resume the video and I will show you how to do it this way. All right, so now we're going to try to find the equation of the perpendicular bisector given these 2 points. So they're always going to give you 2 points to start with because that's the original line segment. And here it says write the equation of the perpendicular bisector of that, okay? So if you want to, this would be a good reminder right here. For perpendicular, remember it, that's going to mean the opposite reciprocal slope, and the bisector is going to go through the midpoint. Okay, so let's start. Go ahead and plot these points on your graph. And then take your ruler and make a nice straight line through both of those points. Okay, so now, remember, we don't want the equation of this line. We're going to want the equation of the perpendicular bisector going through it. So again, I'll show you the algebraic way to do this, but first I want to practice, I think, what is the quickest way. So we're going to use our compasses. All right, let me grab my compass. All right, here we go. So remember the construction, we're going to put the needle on one of the points. The order doesn't matter, so just put the needle on one of the points. And you have to make sure that when you open your compass, it needs to be more than halfway. So let's see how my compass here is open, starting with a needle on a point, more than halfway. Anywhere more than half, so that looks about right. Okay, so go ahead and swing your arcs. One arc above the line, and then one arc below the line. Okay, once that's done, you are going to flip your compass over so that the needle will now go to the other endpoint and repeat the process. Arc above and below. Okay, so as long as your construction was accurate, here you should have a very perfect perpendicular bisector. I'm going to connect where my X's are with my ruler. I'm trying to make it as long as the graph is. Okay. So now what we are looking at is the blue line right here on the screen is the perpendicular bisector. So it's already done. It's already graphed. What you're going to have to do, though, is write the equation of that line, and preferably in y equals mx plus b form. So let me go ahead and write down the equation of a line. All right. So the equation of a line, remember, is y equals mx plus b. And we have to plug in for the m and plug in for the b. And the reason that this method is the easiest is because you can basically just use your eyes to tell what the slope and y-intercept are, and then you're done. So let's start with y-intercept, and that's going to be, remember, where the line crosses the y-axis. So right there, do you see where I'm creating the point? This point right here is where on the y-axis. Hopefully you're thinking 2, at positive 2. So we are going to put plus 2 in the equation. Okay, so over here, y is equal to, and now we need the slope, so that you're going to have to basically visually see where other points are on this line. So you want to check where it's going through all the little corners of the graph. Okay, so here it is. So it looks like it's going to be a -2 slope, because you're starting on the left, down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. So it looks like my slope is -2/1. So when I go over here to write the equation, it's -2x plus 2, and we're done. Really, this method uses no algebra at all. It's mostly the construction, and then using our eyes to get the slope, and using our eyes to get the y-intercept, and that's it. So there it is. All right, now I'm going to show you how to do this without a construction, without using your compass. it's your preference. The regents will never tell you you have to do it a certain way. You can do it any way you'd like. But since a lot of you are doing well with the algebra way, we're going to learn that next. So go ahead and turn the page. And it looks like a lot of steps here, and it is. This is going to take you a while, but again, it's good to know two ways to do something. So maybe you want to start with this way and then check it with the construction, or vice versa. So you're given 2 points and you want the perpendicular bisector. Okay, step 1 would be to find the midpoint of the 2 points. Because it's a bisector, we need to know the point that it's going to go through. So basically back here, I'll show you, we had to go through this point, and so it's important to know that when you're not using your graph, that it's going to have to go through this point. So step 1 is to find the midpoint. Step 2, find the slope of the 2 points they give you. You're going to find the slope of the 2 points they give you, but once you find that slope, that is not the slope you're going to use in your equation. You're then going to need to find the opposite reciprocal of those 2 points, because you're going to want to use the perpendicular slope. So whatever your perpendicular slope is and whatever your midpoint is, these 2 pieces of information right here are going to go into your equation of a line. You're going to need the midpoint and the opposite reciprocal slope. Because again, here, if all I did was count this slope, up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2, I would have thought the slope would be 1/2, right? If I'm just using those 2 points. But in fact, it's actually the opposite reciprocal that we need, and that's why we have to change it. Because we want this line equation, not this line equation. So those are the first 3 steps. You're then going to write your equation of a line. So that means you're going to write your either y equals mx plus b, or you're going to use the new one, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So either one of those equations you're going to use, and then you're going to plug in the negative reciprocal slope and the midpoint. You're going to plug both of those in, and then you're basically going to convert it into y equals mx plus b form. All right, so let's start. Go ahead and draw your lines on your graph, your x-axis and your y-axis, and plot your points. And then use a ruler to connect them. You can go back and forth between doing all algebra or, using the graph if you want. It's really up to you. I would suggest that you always use the graph to at least check your work as you're doing the algebra, if that's what you're going to do, or vice versa, okay? So step 1 said find the midpoint. So I am going to now go ahead and I'll use the midpoint formula, although, again, you could also just find the midpoint on the graph. So let me start with the midpoint formula here. So the midpoint formula is, this is a reminder for you guys, x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma y1 plus y2 divided by 2. That's the average of the x's, comma average of the y's. And I'm going to use these 2 points that they gave me. So my x1 plus my x2 is 1 plus 7 divided by 2, comma, -1 plus -5 for my y's divided by 2. That will give me 8 divided by 2, comma, -6 divided by 2. And when I divide by 2, I should have 4, comma, -3. And this is my midpoint. If you will, please put a star on this one, because that's one of the things that you're going to plug into your equation. This is something important. If you didn't want to use the formula because you're already using the graph, you could also just kind of visually check where you think the midpoint is. To be on the safe side, count the slope and see if it's the same. Down 2, right 3, down 2, right 3. Okay, so there's my midpoint. And it's located at 4, -3. There it is. So we get the same answer. You don't have to use the formula. You can use just the graph if you want, but it's nice to see both. Okay, so here's 4, -3. We're going to use that. So step 2 from above said to find the slope. All right, so slope is this formula, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So we're going to plug in the points into our slope formula. -5 minus -1 divided by 7 minus 1. Change this to plus if you want. That gives you -4 over 6. Reduce, please, to -2/3. And that's the slope. And remember, that is the slope of which line? That is the slope of the original line right here. Okay, we don't want to use it. We need to now immediately, if we don't do it now, we might forget, change to the perpendicular slope. And what you're going to do is take the opposite reciprocal. So the opposite of a negative is a positive, and the flipped version of this is 3 over 2. So this is the slope I'm going to want to use. You can put a star on that, because these are the two things we're going to be using right here. So again, change the slope right here immediately to the opposite reciprocal, and now you're going to use your midpoint. Okay, now you kind of can choose here what you want to do. You can start at the midpoint, and you can start to graph this slope if you want. For example, up 3, right 2. You can start to graph it, up 3, right 2. The goal here is to get the line drawn so that you know where it's hitting the y-axis, and then you'll have your y-intercept. If you want to do it all algebraically, then what you're going to do is pick which equation of a line you like best. So you can either pick one of these folks. So just choose one of these, whatever you like best. You can use y equals m x plus b, or you can use y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. And you're going to plug in the midpoint, not the original points, and you're going to plug in the perpendicular slope. Okay, I'm going to start here. That has to be plus 3 because I'm changing the sign of the negative here. My slope is 3 over 2, parentheses, x, and then minus 4. All right, here I'm going to just, I can leave it this way, or I can convert it depending on if it's a multiple choice question. So let me just go ahead and continue to convert this. So 3 over 2 times x is 3 over 2x. 3 over 2 times -4 is -6. Bring down your y plus 3. All right, almost done. Now we just have to move the 3 over and we minus it. So this equation ends up being y equals 3 over 2x minus 9. Minus 9. That's where the y-intercept will be. All right, let me show you the other way here. If you want to do it the old school way, you plug in your -3 for y, you plug in your 3 over 2 for the slope, you plug in your 4 for x, and 3 over 2 times 4 is 6, and then you move the 6 by subtracting because you want to get b along. And so see here you'll have -9 also. But now you have to plug it back in to the equation to have your final answer be y equals 3 over 2x minus 9. Again, same answer either way. One last thing, you also could have found it using the graph. So if I had kept on doing the slope and kept counting, let's say I count backwards, the slope is back 3 down, or back 2 down 3, back 2 down 3. If I do that, use my ruler, let me take that and make it blue, the perpendicular bisector here. Now check out where it's hitting the y-axis. And it's hitting it at, you're just going to count this point, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, that's another way you could find it, is just by looking and seeing where it's hitting. And that's how you find the perpendicular bisector between 2 points. Now if you want, you can pause the video and try the next one on your own, or start it at least. And then I'll write it down for you, but if you want, get a head start on it first. So you can pause the video at this point, and then I'll continue for you. Okay, I'm going to try to go through this next one a little bit faster. Here we have two endpoints. We're going to graph them. So we're going to graph 8, 2, and 0, 6. Connect them with a ruler or straight edge. And we're going to write the equation of the perpendicular bisector. Okay, now what I'll do here is I'll start with the graphing way and then use the algebraic way as backup. Graphically, I can tell that the midpoint is going to be right here. Hopefully you can tell as well. And now I want to do the, I'll write it down here. So midpoint looks to me as if it were at 4, 4. And the slope, now I'm going to get the slope of the original line segment, and then I'm going to get the opposite reciprocal of that. So let's just count down 4, right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Down 4, right 8, but we're going to reduce it to negative 1/2. Same thing, down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2. All right, remember, we're going to change this, though, immediately to the perpendicular slope. And so take the opposite reciprocal of negative 1/2, and you'll get 2, positive 2, or 2/1. Now, if you want, you can start to graph this slope. Starting here, starting at the midpoint, start to graph up to right 1, up to right 1. Visually, can you tell and can you check that it's making a right angle? You should be able to tell that it's starting to be perpendicular. Let me go backwards. If I go backwards, I'm trying to hit the y-axis. So I'm going to keep going until I hit it. And there. Now I've hit it right there. So let me go ahead and connect these points with my ruler. Okay. And now just tell yourself or ask yourself, where is that line hitting the y-axis? It seems to be at negative 4. At negative 4. So it looks like the B is negative 4. And so to make my equation of the line, I need basically those two things, the slope and the y-intercept. So I could just finish it up right now by saying y equals 2x minus 4. Again, you can find the midpoint by using algebra if you want, or to double check. You can find the slope using algebra if you want, or to double check, but you must also change that slope to what we need. Now, if you wanted to do the equation of the line algebraically, you will pick y equals mx plus b, or the y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, and plug that in. So here we have we have to plug in our midpoint. So let me go back up. Midpoint was 4, 4. So y minus 4 equals 2 times x minus 4. Distribute, distribute. 2x minus 8. Add 4. So y equals 2x minus 4. Same answer. Same thing here. Plug in your 4. And your 4. This I can plug in my 2. So 4 equals 8 plus b minus 8 minus 8. I get b is negative 4 and plug it back in. So same answer. My cat says hi. All right, so there you go. At this point, you may not need to see me do any of the other questions. So what I'll do is I will just start graphing them on my own. I'll pause this video, and if you guys want to check your answers, you can maybe work in pairs or something. Whatever you want to do, work alone. Try to do the next few problems, and then I'll have the correct answers graphed and written down for you so that you can check your answers. Okay, everybody, so hopefully you had some time to practice, and I'm just going to show you the answers. So here we go. The answer to number 3, the equation is y equals negative x minus 1. Or you could write negative 1x minus 1, same thing. And then here's the work. So I found the midpoint algebraically to be negative 2, 1. I found the slope algebraically to be 1. I took the opposite reciprocal of that to get -1 and plugged those in, the midpoint and the perpendicular slope, into the equations of a line to get it. Again, you could also do this graphically, so you can see this equation of the line hits at -1 for the b, so that's there, and then it goes down 1, right 1, so the slope is -1/1. Okay, so it could have been done graphically as well. So there's the answer for that. On the next page, our last page, number 4, the equation of the line was y equals -3/4 x plus 2.5. Or you could write that as a fraction as well. But usually I like to see that, oh yeah, it hits at 2.5 between 2 and 3. So I got the midpoint to be 2, 1. I got the original slope to be 4/3. I changed that to -3/4 and used that in my equation. So I use the new slope in the equation, and again, it's y equals -3/4 x plus 2.5. Here's the old school way that I did, and here's the new school way that I did it. All right, and then finally, the last two questions. I thought number 1 was definitely easiest by graphing. So I made my own graph. I plotted my own points here and here. And then if there were just 2 points up and down, I realized the perpendicular bisector has to be horizontal through the middle. The equation of a horizontal line on this line right here is y equals 3. That was the easiest way to do that one. And number 2, final one, I ended up with y equals 4/3 x minus 6 because I got my slope. Now I did this right on the graph, or my midpoint I got to be 3, -2. The slope of the red line, original, is -3/4, so then the perpendicular bisector slope must be 4/3. Using that and that, I plugged them in and got my equation. So either way, you could plug it into this one or this one. Y equals 4/3 x minus 6. Make sure that you ask questions if you have them, and that you practice the homework where you'll have 2 of these to do for homework. Okay? Bye, everybody. Have a great day.